Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Pabs, a rising VTuber and an artist, and today we're going to be working on a commission for a friend of mine, Jay. So she asked me to draw her and V in the outfits for Team Fortress 2, respectively for the sniper and the heavy. So I'm going to be making use of some resources that she gave me, as well as some stuff that I found on my own, and we're going to be drawing some line art. That's pretty much the gist of it. It's not much more complicated than that. I don't know. I I don't know. Realistically speaking, January and February are both very busy, and it looks like I'll have my hands full in March too. But honestly, I do love maybe biting off just a tiny bit more than I can chew sometimes, because I feel like when I have that stress, I am at my most powerful. Does anybody else have that feeling like they just feel stronger when like their back is against the wall? It's not a good habit to get into, I don't think. No, certainly I think it's best if you are able to manage your schedule in a relaxed manner. I think that's probably what is optimal. But at the same time, it's like, but what if I did more though? What if I did just a tiny bit more? And that's like the siren song of I don't know. I don't know how to put it. Like I don't feel like I'm gonna regret any of the decisions that I make, which I think is like the most important part. I like even though I am maybe doing too much, I feel like I would regret it more if I didn't do at least this much. You know what I mean? It's that kind of situation. Anyway, I found a version of Heavy's minigun, which I think is going to be suitable for our usage. I need to find the sniper's gun as well, though. Because I feel... It bothers me so much that Sketchfab has all these different models. I remember I used to cite for... whatchamacallit? For the power armor way back when I was doing the... whatchamacallit, that one Fallout thumbnail for V. And ooh, actually, wait, this might work. Oh wait, no, this one's dead easy. Okay, that's perfect. Okay, this night I feel like something about the minigun is much. I don't know. I don't know what it is about it, but it feels threatening to kind of think about in 2D space, if that makes sense. Okay, 3D. Ooh, this one's actually... Hang on, this one's also really helpful. It even has some additional little texturing details. That's cool. God, I love that... You can even kind of see it on the sketch that I threw together here, that I'm much more comfortable with, like, the idea of a rifle than I am with, like, the idea of a minigun. Now, being fair to myself, the minigun is in a kind of, like, weird pose here. But I think that's fine. I think we'll be okay. Okay, so I think first step is probably to refine the sketch that we've got going already. I think that would be an ideal first step. Because I have the idea of like, oh hang on, I should also probably get these two yahoos in here. Hold up. I'm gonna shrink down the references for the guns a little bit just so I can have the references for the marks as well. I will say that that an unprecedented delight of doing this work has been that I rewatched the Meet the Team videos for like the first time in 5 years, probably. And they're such a delight to watch. Just genuinely very fun, very nostalgic for me, of course. I don't know, is TF2 now considered like Unk Media? I mean, all everybody's been talking about whatchamacallit. They've been talking about Marble Rivals. They've been talking about all kinds of different things. I'm gonna go to my grave never having played a single hour of Apex Legends or Valorant and not knowing really the difference between them. From what I understand, Valorant has both of them are like hero shooters, but one of them is more like CS:GO coded, but the other one is also more like I don't know what shooter to base it off of. But yeah, one of them feels like what if in Counter-Strike you could use magic, and the other one feels like run as fast as you fucking can across this empty barren field, pick up like 5 million things, watch out for that guy who's going to kill you, and that's pretty much it. I'm not a big shooter guy. I'm not huge on the I don't know much about like the genre itself. I've enjoyed some foundational texts from it. I like Doom, right? I've played Doom on stream. But I think beyond that is a little it becomes murkier to me. I don't know exactly what I should expect from the genre. Also, what I think I could do here is and this is going to be a lot of fun for me to see if I can actually pull it off. I'm going to see if I can cheat a little bit by using hang on. By using the oval shape for the minigun just to have a basis for what I need. Because I feel that this part of the minigun just being up close is going to be the most challenging component of everything. Like, how many barrels does this thing have? Okay, that's... I'm gonna go ahead and say 6, yeah. In a hexagonal pattern, which... You know what, is kind of cool, actually. I feel like TF2 is one of the... You know how, like, they say that the mark of, like, great design is you don't even notice how good it is until you have to, like, really scrutinize it? I feel like TF2 is a masterclass in that. I feel like a lot of what TF2 does is does well is so elegantly kind of tucked away into itself. It's like some kind of low profile car in some regards. Okay, so this is gonna go a little bit backwards. Okay, we're gonna expand this. But yeah, you don't appreciate what you have until you see what people don't have. And like I played Team Fortress 2 for the first time when I was like what, 13-ish, around that time period. And don't get me wrong, I had a great time with the game, but I don't think I fully appreciated just kind of what I had. God, I remember finding this one map that was like this really bright orange and bright blue deathmatch map that had like a big tower in the middle. And I remember really liking playing on that particular map because it had whoever was running the server for that had a lot of fun tracks on it. Like they had Beastie Boys and a few different other ones just kind of gracing my ears. Like I remember the first time I listened to Sabotage by the Beastie Boys, it was in that server. I'm not actually a huge Beastie Boys guy. I know a couple of their songs. I know Intergalactic and Sabotage, but I'm not really aware of the rest of their discography. And the fun part about this is that now that I know where these kind of are vaguely, those don't look right. I think I need to rework the insides of these. Just maybe make a couple of these a little bit smaller, a couple of these a little bit larger. Smaller definitely seems to be treating me right. Me when I asked the guy who's been trying out size altering potions about his thoughts on about his thoughts and preferences on that particular subject. That one was nothing. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I could have tied more literary references into that, and I think that would have elevated it a little bit. Like, maybe I could have gone for the whole... You know in Alice in Wonderland how there's that one section where it's like, oh, there's a potion here that says drink me, and there's another potion here that says eat me? Or no, the drink me was obviously a potion. The eat me was, I think, some manner of cake or biscuit. Also, I need to extend the size of this particular thing. Okay, we'll grab this, extend it a little bit further out. May flatten this section too. Oh yeah, that's definitely the right move. Okay, yes, yes, yes. Okay. Hey buddy, how you doing? Okay, so fun thing that I've done to myself here. By extending it this way, I've managed to kind of make it incongruous with what is needed here. I think we got to start over a little bit. Let's try this. Or actually, wait, hang on. Hang on. I'm having like a steamed hams moment. I'm having like a Jimmy Neutron brain blast thinking about how I can make this easier on myself. And I think I found a solution. Okay, take the model of the gun. Bigger. Warp it a little bit so that it's like this. Almost got it. Oh, that is so close. I would... God damn the theater of my mind's eye for being so fragile after a 32-hour work week. Vital... Wait, how do you pronounce that? Vitala Tursk? For some reason I thought it had the phrase asterisk in there. Unfortunately, you have been born without a soul, it seems. Like, you are just an automated machine that was thrust into this cruel world without any capability for higher cognitive function. I'm afraid we will have to euthanize you from reality. Goodbye. Okay, this is not working, I think. I do like the highlighted machine on screen with this. Highlighted machine? Highlighted machine. What highlighted machine? Oh, the Begone bot. The gun. Oh yeah. I missed out on a great bit where I could have pointed the gun towards the chat. and like said I don't know. I don't think there's a snappy one-liner that you could use for this particular instance. I don't know. I feel like I don't think I've necessarily matured out of the capability to make like punchy one-liners, but I do feel as though like I don't know how to put it. Like I feel like my capability for delivering those is not something I want to exercise. Like I think like I've taken a good hard look at myself and I've realized that I'm just not the kind of guy who says something smooth after sending someone to the shadow realm. I think that's just not my part in this greater reality that we occupy. And you know what? I've made my peace with it as well. I think it's just good for me to kind of establish my own limits and boundaries. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna Maybe we need to unselect a lot of this just so that it's not so messy to transform with the tool. Okay. And then we're gonna probably do this. What in the world is going on? I'm drawing V and J in the Team Fortress 2 outfits because Jay asked me to do it and I want to do it. Also, I'm thinking about hang on, I'm thinking about how to best hang on. I'm doing the little you know that animation that happens sometimes where it's like where you see like 5 or 6 little pips like this and like they cycle through each one. I feel like sometimes I have to do that with my own head before I'm able to describe what I want to do. So my idea is to use a filter called Spherize or Curved Surface, I think. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some strength to that. Oh, yeah. Oh my god, that's looking a little messed up, actually. Maybe we need to... Ooh. That's kind of achieving what I wanted to do, though. I want that it's getting there, but it's not quite correct. I think maybe this, but shrunk down like this, probably? I think is my best bet. CSP does have the distort tools, that's true. But the thing is that the kind of... Ooh, wait, actually. Wait, never mind, that's pretty smooth. Thank you, Ryan, for reminding me that I have this power. Okay. How does this look in the context of the actual sketch? I think we can still do better. So hang on. So here's what let's do. I'm going to drag the barrel out a little bit more towards this side. And then I'm just going to adjust everything else to accommodate. I feel, have you ever had an instance where like you're trying to, and actually I could combine some of these technologies. So wait, okay, this one here. If I grab this part, yeah, I don't know. There's something people talk about like beating stuff with hammers as if it's like some, you know, kind of lowbrow process. But I actually find it to be quite an enriching experience myself. You should do a funny bit where you make B blue and J red, and when you give them, she'll point out the colors being wrong, and then frame one upload the correct colors you prepare in advance. Listen, buddy, I have like, out of all the nights in the week, I have like maybe tonight and maybe a little bit of tomorrow to get this done. So I don't think I have a lot of leeway for bits this time. And setting those up sounds like it might be a little bit of a pain in the ass. Like, it could probably just be as easy as color hue shifting them, but I don't want to... I don't want to do that. The next day, rip. The thing is that I, like I said, this week in January and February in general are just gonna keep me like fucking completely booked 9 days out of the week. Also, I need to increase the brightness of this just so I can have an easier time distinguishing some of the parts. There we go. Oh god, I feel like increasing the brightness really highlighted how much I fucked this up with the liquefy tool. I don't know. Like I said, I like having a little bit of a brisk, hectic schedule, especially when it comes to art projects and such. I feel like that's when I feel most in my element. It's not something I should make a habit of, but I feel it's just kind of how I enjoy my work the most. I think that's the best way to put it. Okay. Am I overdoing this? I feel like I'm maybe over seasoning this. I think I just need to kind of go into it. A little bit of the edge, the flair of it. Yeah. No, you get me. You understand. Let's just tuck this away up here. Okay. I'm gonna put this up here. But yeah, I don't know. How do you like your working schedules? I feel like I can't be asked to lock in on something unless I feel a little bit of pressure, which I think might be my undoing at some point, but it's been fine so far. Let's see. Okay, curvature works like so. I really want this to have like a cartoony Bugs Bunny ass feel to it too, which I think is appropriate with Jay being a rabbit and everything. Actually, you know what? I don't think Jay actually specified what color team she wanted me to make her and V. I assume it's gonna be red and blue, but it's kind of up in the air. My art working schedule is however I currently feel like it. That's fair. Now that's very real because I feel like, yeah, no, you've definitely been going through, and I think there are periods of your life where you just kind of have to be like, you know what, I didn't make anything this month, and that's perfectly okay. Shit is fucking terrible right now. Sometimes I need the pressure to lock in, but also the double-edged sort of not liking being told what to do versus I need to help deciding what to do. I feel ya. No, I definitely get that. Because I feel like at my job, I've gotten much better about this as I've gained more experience, but I feel like sometimes if I'm unsure about something, I need to check with at least like one person, even if it's like a colleague, not even my boss or anything, just like my colleague. Like, hey, this sounds right to you, right? And like 9 times out of 10, it's totally worth bothering them just so I have that assurance that that I'm actually onto something. I was ready to get back into the swing of things this year after getting used to my job, and then I got laid off, so I'm back to square one. Nah, that definitely throws a wrench into plans. The really frustrating thing about it is that like I feel like when you realize you can't spend too much time working on art, that's when you feel like the most urgent desire to work on your art. Because, like I said, I'm currently in a situation where I really should not be fucking around, but I want to fuck around so bad. Two, three, four, five, six. It doesn't help that there are a couple of things I need to take care of these upcoming weeks because I do want to make at least one bit of art for the Lunar New Year. Or I guess it would be the Spring Festival. I found out that Lunar New Year isn't like a super correct way of phrasing it because apparently, you know, it's not just a lunar calendar, it's technically a lunisolar calendar. So it would be a lunisolar New Year, but apparently in Chinese itself, they usually just call it like the Spring Festival. But I want to do something for the Year of the Horse. And I have an idea now that I've done some research on what I want to do, which is great. But I don't really have the time. But I'll make the time though. I do want to at least do something for it. Or maybe a couple things. I had a couple of ideas. One of them was to use a picture of a certain statue that I found on Wikipedia that I think would be a really good fit for the art style that I usually use for the Spring Festival art pieces that I do. But then there's also, I also wanted to do something with that Uma Musume OC that I made like way back in July. Hey, Common. Me with Valentine's. I have a your character here / spacing and people's OCs to use as examples, but the time. Oh, the time. Oh, the time. Always time to horse, even if it's late. That is true. Maybe I think like maybe something that I don't appreciate enough is that I can just kind of take it easy sometimes. And you know what? Even if it doesn't fall on the exact same day of the event in question, it's still valid. But you know, I had an idea for something to do with that hat, and I want to execute on that, but it's still coming together. But yeah, I kind of got inspired because I saw that a bunch of the... Ooh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna need another one of these ranks, but maybe I should just... Maybe I can just kind of use some artistic license on this. Because I think maybe just having the barrels just out in the wind like this would probably be more effective for what I kind of want to accomplish with the feel of the piece, which is to make it very cartoonish. So you know what? Let's simplify a little bit. So definitely we need this kind of hood chainsaw cover thing? Question mark? I don't know how to call that. Or I'm not sure what its technical name is. I guess handguard is probably the best one because I feel like a minigun. I feel like action movies have conditioned us to believe that minigun to be like, wow, cool minigun. But also, I feel like miniguns are like one of like top 10 guns where if you put your hands anywhere you're not supposed to, your fingers are gonna get like chomped. Like 100%. I don't know. It just feels like it has too many moving pieces, you know? It's like when you're using a mandolin. It's like, I know I'm being careful, but what if it eats my thumbs? You have got to be on your toes. Oh yeah, wait, Ryan, I actually forgot about this. Jade did ask me to just do the line art for this, so I don't think it actually matters what color. I don't need to make them any color in particular. I just need to do the line art. Silly me. A Gatling gun is a type of shark. True. You know what? I don't know. I'll admit that I don't know a lot about morphology, but that sounds correct to me. As is a mandolin. That's true as well. Now, you do have to be on your fucking toes when you use a mandolin, I think. Or no, you're supposed to... you're supposed to... Okay, no, you're supposed to be on your hands with a mandolin. But, you know, you need to be wary. Keep your wits about you. Make him green and purple. I'm not... What if you got auto balance onto the Joker team? In TF2. What if you die and it's like your teams are being auto balanced and then like suddenly you hear beatboxing ominously coming from the locker room? What then? What's the plan for that? What's the method? How do we cope? Now you can pull up a dick move and actively make sure each line isn't close so it can't be color filled easily. I don't want to be a dick to Jay though. She's a good and virtuous and decent person. Also, I think that would be kind of very easily circumvented. That's not really like an epic prank or anything. I know I would never do it myself. You are trying to like Green Goblin mask my ass right now. You are trying to make me lose goodwill from the people I consider my friends and peers. You're like doing like rage bait by proxy. Sabotage everything for the sake of the bit. Proposing evil actions. I do feel like Ryan would make. I don't think Ryan. Ryan, I feel like you don't have the qualifications to be an evil vizier in general, but I feel like you would make an excellent evil vizier for me specifically. Like I feel like your ideas have the right kind of wavelength that I could be spurned into malicious action by a lot of them, but not. But like I don't think they would work on anyone else. Or maybe I'm just very credible. World's most niche job, yeah. I don't know. I feel like the thing is that I feel like the whole evil vizier situation is such that like maybe 20 or 40 years ago, the evil viziers wiped out all of their bosses at the same time on accident. So now we for the past 40 or so years, we've just had evil viziers running the show this whole time. Like every single dude who's like on the Forbes 30 under 30 list is an evil vizier of some description. And the only reason that they are as successful and as ruthless as they are is because they're supposed to be manipulating another guy. I'm like your evil vizier, not to take over your position, but just because it'd be funny. Yeah, I think that's definitely. I feel like you would almost calling it pro bono work feels like a strange description for what this arrangement would really entail. But I think it's the best one that I have to describe it per se. Yeah, no, I think we've gone like full vizier mode. I think maybe 10 or 20 years back we just accidentally fucking did all viziers all the time, and now we're just living with the consequences of that. She'd be pro on my bono for sure. I don't know much about legal matters, so I can't make it. I can't kind of return the serve you've given me here. I did spend some time today on Wikipedia looking for a specific phrase in Latin, and a lot of those did end up becoming legal phrases or legal laws. Not laws, but legal defenses over time. 2026 is the year of vizier maxing. I feel like we need fewer viziers, though. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's going to be like... Manipulate everyone, not for profit, not for love, just for the lulz. She habeas my corpus. God. That's a good one though. That was a nice that was a good quick return serve though. Okay. Yep, for every vizier who takes over, a new vizier comes into play, the balance must be maintained. I feel like the vizier situation is more like a sort of like Yellowstone got rid of all the wolves and now there's just fucking deer everywhere kind of situation. Like I feel like we either need to have viziers or we need some dude who's like unvizierable to kind of just restore the order. Like, I don't know, what would be the opposite of a vizier? What is... I guess it would be like a trustworthy mage of sorts? Maybe some kind of court jester position. I feel like that's the best, a good analog, but it's not the best one. The Vizier. That's really good. Okay. Ooh, wait, I need to make it like this, I think. Or maybe... Hang on. I've got an idea for how to make this more curved. God damn, I love working with vector layers. Yeah. I don't know. What position do you think you would have in on the king's court? I do think I would be. I feel like I would be some kind of actuary or something. Not really a glamorous position, but definitely like something functional. Something to do with paperwork or clerical work of sorts. I don't have confidence to be the jester. I think I would be pretty funny, but I don't have the kind of jester energy. I don't have like the pure mischief in my soul to kind of rock that particular role. I don't have confidence in my capability of that. I do have some confidence in my ability to fill paperwork, though. Okay, and then there's like this weird cylindrical thing sticking out of it. Okay. Okay, we're not gonna make the handle too complicated. In the King's Court, you'd have a dry humor that seldom comes out but makes everyone laugh when it does. That's precisely that's what I want to be. That's what I want. I want that. That's genuinely, I think, like my dream job description is guy who's like good at his job and occasionally makes like a really good gutbuster joke. That's all I want out of life. Okay, then over here. The Vizier. Thank you, Bunny, for the clip. God, I'm still remembering. Yes, I'm doing a great job at accounting, and also my second secret job being funny. That's literally it. That's everything that I've ever wanted from my professional career. Also, this is gonna be fun because I'm gonna get to draw V as kind of like a much buffer figure than normal. I think. We all know that V has abs, but like I feel like we don't really get to see a lot of meat on those bones. Otherwise. Okay. If I grab this, could I rotate it so the wrist is more naturally inclined? Sorry, got it, because it's okay, man. I'm glad you're excited for it. Thank you. We don't get to enjoy the abs often. No, unfortunately, they are kind of hard to render sometimes, and it's sometimes difficult to. The thing is that abs are kind of hard to kind of figure out unless you're like standing perfectly straight up. Like I feel like I know how abs work in theory, but I don't know how those fuckers work like in actual practice. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody's sitting down or, like, slouched, I don't know how the abs work in that regard. Maybe just a bit of a curve over here. And I'm also going to maybe stretch out the arms a little bit here, too. Okay. All right, looking good. I think that arm looks fine. Or maybe... Can we do better? Because I want a little bit of additional length on it as well. What I can do is probably shrink the specific proportions that V has, and maybe fine-tune the curve of this particular part here. Yeah, okay. Got it. I have had a pretty good day today, though, because at my workplace, I managed to like I said, I'm currently busy as hell in my day job, but I figured out by looking at some documents that a section that I thought I needed to get done this month probably doesn't need to get done until next month. So that's a lot of extra time on my hands that I am not going to be able to take advantage of necessarily. I need every second I can get. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with that. It's just going to be it was always going to be super busy, but now it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So that's a welcome change. Yeah, I'm very happy about it as well. Or rather, I felt very happy. I was so jazzed. I took an early lunch break. I was genuinely so relieved that I had like less than I thought I had to do, or less than I have to do now. Like it's fine if I need to do this work later. I just need a little bit of extra time for everything else right now. Okay, I need to hang on. I just need this section to be slightly more like this. Yes, okay. And maybe for the part over here, what I might do is I might just put this part of the arm back just so that she's a little bit so that she can hold the gun out a little bit further in front of her so that the torso doesn't look quite as cramped. Like maybe back here. Or rather so that this other arm, the left arm doesn't look quite as cramped as it does right now. Okay. Okay. But you know, that is the the situation at my day job like rapidly flip-flops between being completely fucked and being perfectly serviceable and normal and okay. And it largely depends on what exactly the client has sent me to work with. Because sometimes they give me like elegant Venetian palazzos of evidence, and I can just get it squared away in like in a jiffy. But other times they send me like an incomplete report or some shit, and then I have to waste time asking them to rerun it or to send me the complete version. And then the elegant Venetian palazzo becomes much more like a angry, wretched, damp, moldy stone hut. Okay, so here's what what I'm thinking for this arm is elbow is like all the way out here, and then and so this way we can have it almost like yeah, the fickle nature of the client indeed. And to be fair to them, it's not fully their fault. Whenever you communicate with another human being, there's bound to be some information loss. And they have a certain understanding of what I want. I have a certain understanding of what they have. It's not always one to one. And so, you know, it's fine. It's understandable that these misunderstandings happen. But the thing is that this work is very much on a deadline. And these misunderstandings each take about a day to clear up. So it can be just a tiny bit difficult. Okay. The shoulder's here, the hand is here, so the elbow needs to be around here. Okay. Okay, how the fuck am I going to connect this wrist so that it... Oh, wait, no, I can do this. Hang on. I just need to kind of reach over. Hang on. I need to rework this part. Yeah, no, this whole hand needs to... needs a second attempt. Okay. No, the wrist angle here would be completely busted. I need to... Maybe if I slide the hood of this forward a little bit. I think that might be the move. Okay, I need to unselect this part. No, that selected a different line, which is also not the one that I wanted. There we go. Okay. And then we also grab this part here, and this part here. Scale it up, move it forward. That works, I think. I think it might also be better if I just add a tangent here, so that where the barrel ends, the top of the hood is. Oh no, but then it wouldn't make any sense for when it spins. Never mind. Okay, and then... Just gonna shrink this part over here, tilt it a little bit. And I think that's looking much better already. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Not quite. I think what I could do is maybe make it so that this shoulder's a little bit higher up. And that way I can curve this arm even further down. And that way, if I move the hood like further down here. No, that's not, it's not quite right. What if I, what if I just grab these? No, that's not, hang on. I need to go backwards quite a bit here. Okay. So first things first, I need to realign this because I've noticed now that the barrel isn't quite where, at the angle where I need it to be. Okay, yes. And then... Could I solve this by making the thing over here? No. Okay. And I think maybe bringing the shoulder up still is a good idea. And then like this, and then like this. That arm looks serviceable. We'll take it. Just maybe adding a little bit more definition to some of the curves on it, though, just so that it still comes through as, like, very beefy. Maybe defining the laterals a little bit more here, too, as well. No, that's too much. That's too much. Okay. Now, if only you did do the colors, because you could make those biceps glueless. Well, that's gonna be up to that's gonna be up to Jay, quite frankly. I do think that the saddest thing about this is the trade-off that because I am going to follow the body types of the mercs a little bit more. I do think this is going to make Jay just a little bit more thin than she usually is. It's a personal request from me. I'll run up the flagpole and see who's lose. I won't tell you to get your hopes up though. Okay, so this is gonna, the flak jacket is gonna kind of go like this. You'd be like, oi. She might go like, oi. My family told me that I apparently do say oi sometimes as just like a expression, which I think is really funny. When did I become British? Jay would be thinner here, but you can make that jacket thick, I imagine. That would be kind of a fun look, I think. Okay. So for V, if I may say something rather strange, it feels so weird to draw the heavy with hair. Or really any of the mercs to just like draw them with hair. I don't know, they're not all bald, or they don't all have like closely cropped hair. But it does feel wrong to imagine them like with, like obviously like anime sized hair. I do think a component of like making this look cartoony will be like separating the ahoge into two separate things like this. Yeah, I think that's a good cartoonish face. Maybe it's a little bit further down like this. And maybe this part of the hair would be a little bit lower too. But other than that, I think this is looking maybe slightly smaller head. No, definitely a smaller head, just so the arms look bigger. my secret technique. Okay. I wonder how in cartoons they do bandoliers like this, because I know I've seen at least a couple of cartoon characters have bandoliers this way, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I think one of the dudes from Fairly Odd Parents had it, so hang on. Like, the big military guy from Fairly Odd Parents? Let's see. Yeah, Jorgen von Strangle. No, he doesn't actually have the bandolier. He doesn't actually have a bandolier. He has like, hang on. He just has like bondage straps. Dumb. Okay. All right, we'll wrestle with that on our own time, I suppose. I swear to, I think I think I just got Mandela affected into believing that he had. Well, yeah, of course he wouldn't have bullets because it's a children's show, but like, I really thought he did. I was like, man, I wonder how they did this on Fairly Odd Parents. They didn't, bro. They didn't do that. Testament or his character design that you thought. Testament to his character design that you thought he did. For sure, though, that is true. Okay. Hmm. Okay, how do I... Do you think I could get away with not even including the bottom half of these, the circle part, just making it a sash with lines? I think that might work for the cartoonish feel of it. Honestly, I think that works. I do think, however, I need to maybe make the shoulder a little bit more intrusive here, because I do think it's kind of gotten lost in translation with the sash, and I think... Yeah, this could work. This'll work. This'll work. Could I... Hang on. If I extended this a little bit more... I don't know. I kind of need to increase the boob size just so that it doesn't look too masculine, I feel. I feel like because I'm just making everything bigger, I need to make the boobs also proportionally bigger. I apologize to the flat V truthers out in the audience. Okay, let's flip this real quick just to make sure that we're not doing... Yeah, no, something's screwy here. I think maybe what I can do is actually... Hang on, I have an idea. Push the torso and all this part maybe to the left a little bit. Or to the right, whatever. Okay. I think that's working pretty well. Were the classes given to you by Jay, or is this a Vibespace thing? Because Heavy is very funny. This was all Jay. So you can credit her and her beautiful, enormous brain for this insight. I think we could go further, I think. And I think maybe, hang on. If I just slightly squeeze this like this, and then bring it over here, and then maybe actually make the head a little bit wider. I think without the under part of the eye, it looks a little bit better. Maybe on the whole, just making this part of the hair a little bit bigger. Oh yeah, that's looking much improved. But yeah, the original sketch had her kind of in the corner like this, and I think that still works. That's still functional. Although maybe just a little bit of the leg. There we go. I don't know, what's your favorite class to play in TF2? Because I was always either medic or pyro. There was a time when I was like seriously flirting with Demo Man, but I think I just have too much commitment to the press mouse one and move forward mentality. I think I just don't have like the natural aggression in me to play like a DPS class. I mean, no, Pyro is technically a DPS class, but I don't, I don't have to think very hard when I play Pyro. Like, at most, I have to have the reaction time to react to, like, somebody shooting a rocket at me and me being able to, like, air blast them back, but that's like, the extent of it. I don't know. I don't... Okay, this is gonna sound very, very pedestrian of me. I don't like to think too hard, or at least I don't want to be invited to think too hard when I play video games. Like, I want it to be shallow enough that I can jump in without the expectation of pouring like 50 million hours into it. But I also want to be able to have that depth of going into that deep end if I want to. And I think that's why I really like Medic and Pyro, because there's advanced shit you can do as both Medic and Pyro, but at the same time, if you just want to help out your team, you can just go in there and fight dudes, or heal dudes, whatever. I don't know. I'm thinking, God, it's so fucking funny. I think I've told the story a couple of times. Now that they've like announced a bunch of like heroes that were nothing burgers being added to Overwatch, I'm strongly reminded of the fact that I just never ever got into it, and it's so funny too because one time at like an artist thing that I went to, everybody was so into Overwatch. Everybody was like talking about like Overwatch headcanons and bullshit. And I was like, oh wow, what's that? Because I'd literally never heard of it before. And it's really funny that nothing came of that. Absolutely zero Flashpoint event. Everyone's got a different approach to games. That's true. I did see those Sanrio skins. I did look at them when my phone was in like this mode that I have it on where it color filters so everything's in grayscale, so I couldn't really like look at the colors per se, but they look fine. They look very charming. I think I just don't have it in me anymore to just hate on Overwatch like I used to. Like it deserves that hatred. Don't get it twisted. Overwatch deserves that hatred, but I also feel like I just can't muster the force for it. I'm a Sanrio fan, so I'm just big eyes. Yeah, I think that's a good sign that like the design team at least got their target audience though, because I feel like even if there's still a lot of things about Overwatch that I dislike, when it does do design stuff correctly, it is kind of a treat to see. Yeah, I think maybe... Yeah, making the mouth a little bit higher and adding a little bit of the cheek to it is definitely the way to go. Or actually, maybe just a little bit lower than that. Perfect. Okay, I think that's going to be it for V's sketch, and now we got to do J, which I'm going to try and not jinx myself, but I think J's is going to be so much easier. I think I don't really need to worry about the eyes on this one either, because it's just going to be like this. Ooh, wait, maybe what I can do is... Maybe just a little bit of a... Okay, maybe toothpick in the mouth for sure. And then maybe just like the face a little bit further back like this. Jay has... Wait, on which side is Jay's snaggletooth? Because I know she has one, but I don't remember which side it's on. Opposite side. Fuck. Alright, change of plans. Be polite. Be professional. Have a plan to kill everyone you meet. I'm saving my rewatch of Meet the Soldier for a bad day. Because Meet the Soldier, I think like just in terms of iconic lines to screen time ratio, Meet the Soldier is just unbeatable, unmatched in terms of sheer flow. Like I think I literally I became my ESL scores jumped up an entire grade when I first heard the... That's why they call it a zoo pun from that video. Okay, there we go. I don't know, Bunny, were you ever into Overwatch? I feel like I don't know anybody who was like super deep into Overwatch. Or League of Legends for that matter. Or no, I think... Wait, no, Preston I think was into League of Legends at some point, but I don't remember the specifics of it. I played Overwatch 2, yeah. Nice. Was it fun? Did you have a good time? I'm very bad at it. Aww. Well, it's like, at least if you got an ounce of enjoyment from your time with it, I think that's enough. I played on Switch, so it was hard learning camera controls and aiming. Oh, yeah, that's probably... I can imagine that's really challenging on the Switch. Wait, okay, does Switch Overwatch have gyro controls? Do you have to like tilt the thing around to maneuver the different pieces? Because I think gyro controls Overwatch would be like an entire... Or gyro controls shooters in general just feel like such a beast. Teammates in the chat to stop healing the cowboy guy who was me! Oh god. There were gyro controls and I had to turn them off because it was hell. I am so sorry. I know it's not my fault that this happened, but I still feel like somebody should apologize to you, so that someone's gonna be me. I am so sorry you had to go through that. Okay, I might just move V down a tiny bit. Then J is just gonna be around here. I keep thinking that I should probably add legs to V, but it's hard to say. Does he have an undershirt? Yes, he does. I feel like at some point, and I don't know when, but I feel like at some point it is just straight up in my karma that I'm gonna own a Switch or a Switch 2. Probably a Switch 2 because I don't think they make Switch 1s anymore. And also I don't think anything would run on them even if I did get one. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna cause me to bite the bullet because I think the only game that I've ever been like, okay, this might be what gets me to buy a Switch is of all things Hatsune Miku fitness boxing. And I didn't even go for that because I realized later on, wait a minute, somebody's gonna upload like gameplay footage of these stages, and I just need to like mimic the actions, the commands on screen to receive the benefits of that. Got yours through eBay through a pretty good deal. We all need a new workout routine. Why can't Hatsune Miku be there? That's what I'm saying. I feel like this is gonna be like the next evolution in like whatever they do for Uma Musume. It's just like them being your personal fitness coaches. Haru Urara is gonna tell you to drop and give her 20. I don't know. I think the thing for a lot of people, for me at least, I feel like I have an easier time exercising or doing work like for example folding clothes or cleaning the apartment if I feel like I have somebody there doing it with me. So I feel like if you have that, if you can offer something like that, and I think this is probably why personal fitness trainer apps, not even like being a personal fitness trainer, just like uploading your voice to an app to give people coaching on how to do workouts is, I think, so popular. Body doubling? Is that what they call it? Neat. It might be I feel like I've heard that term before, so I think you might be on the money. Parallel play too. Mm. I think for me parallel play maybe less so. I feel like if I'm playing if I'm in the room with somebody that I like, you know, and I'm friends with them and I feel like I'm just going to naturally talk to them a little bit. I'm going to try and get in their business a little bit and you know maybe I can be convinced to mind my own business if I'm like working on something off to the side or if I'm like if it's virtual, right? I feel like then I can definitely do parallel play stuff where we're all each doing our own thing. But I feel like if I'm in the room with someone, I want to engage with them to some degree. Guy who's a yapper. You want to talk about something together? The talker. But that's genuinely how it is. And it's so weird too because I don't usually talk to people just randomly like that. I like if we've messaged each other, you know that I message only when I have business to discuss or when if I find something that I'm like, okay, they will absolutely love this. It's so strange. Why do I feel maybe it's like the instincts built into me as a younger brother to be annoying. Nothing wrong with that. Honestly, for me, it's really rare to hang out with people I care of, so of course I'd love to be talking with them. I think that's probably it as well, is that I think that because I just lack the volition and impulse to arrange hangouts when I do have somebody accessible to me to just talk their ear off, I take full advantage of that. Your professional messaging manner is damaging your fun times relationships. I feel like I do message. Like, I feel like I can't turn off my office voice when I message people. I will clock out, and then when I get home, I will message somebody with the exact same tone of voice and diction that I used to ask for a report 3 hours ago. I'm too locked in on this accounting shit, I fear. And then I actually start talking with them over like a voice call or something, and they're like, "Oh, okay, never mind. He hasn't been replaced by some kind of like business suit mind parasite. That's just Pabs." Hmm. Okay, that hand is too tiny for the amount of elbow that I've given this girl. I need to rate. Okay, I need to bring this up a little bit. Glad you found a career you can lock into, though. Yeah. To be fair, I've locked into it because I don't really have anything else going for me. That sounded a little. That sounded like I'm. That sounded like a cry for help. I'm sorry. I'm locked into it because I really don't have any other jobs lined up, and this is. I am still working at the first place I ever got hired. Right. I am like on track to be like one of those like lifetime works at the same place forever guys. And I need to like very much not be that. I think like it's being detrimental to me to be that way, but I have too much going on right now between like obviously right now it's like a busy period at my job, so it's a little bit hard to find stuff, but even outside of that, this year is looking just packed. So it's so not this year, but maybe at some point in the future I'm going to find a different something else to do. I'd like to at least like play the field a little bit and see what options I have. I feel like that's the least I should do for myself in terms of just like, if I check out a couple of different places and I'm like, wow, this sucks, then that's fine because at least then I have the knowledge of those places sucking. What I absolutely cannot permit to happen is I cannot just let myself be like, okay, this place works well enough, I guess, so let's just stay here forever. Because I feel like that way lies like a tremendous amount of regret in the future. Okay, now the arm is too long. What the fuck? God damn it. I'm fucking Goldilocks and the Three Bears up in here. Okay, there we go. Anatomy. She's a difficult lady to master. There. You know what? I do feel like that's a very cute play on words and like a name that, to give anatomy. But I do also want to point out that the fact that her name is Tomi now ties her karma to the Junji Ito character, which, you know what, fair. Okay. Gonna go like this. Uh-oh, hope nothing bad happens to either Tomi. I actually haven't read Tomi. I feel like I'd enjoy that. I don't know. I recently tried to read the first chapter of Monster, the Naoki Urasawa manga, and I feel like throughout the entire chapter, I was like trying to run. I felt like I was out of breath. I felt like I had been running for 15 minutes straight whenever for each page that I turned. It was crazy. But I had so much fun reading it. I don't know. I feel like I'm not built for the stress of reading like horror or suspense works, but I also really, really like them. I don't know, maybe I should give Tomi a chance. Honestly, I need to lock in on reading more Naoki Urasawa because I really love the balance that his art strikes between realism and abstraction. He's very skilled at making each character have a unique face that is very consistent. Horror is very fascinating. I wish I didn't get so scared. You and me both. I forgot to draw this here. I think I got distracted by the fact that I needed to shift everything on the canvas down a little bit. I also really want to finish reading 20th Century Boys. I feel like I owe it to myself. Twentieth Century Boys is much. I feel like for 20th Century Boys, it has that same feel of Monster of it feeling very much like a. How do I put this? 20th Century Boys and Monster both feel like they were like HBO original shows. Both of them feel like have very much that feeling of they almost feel like you're watching Breaking Bad. Now, granted, I've only seen like 4 episodes of Breaking Bad, but I stand by that. Also, I think I'm going to remove the buttons here, and I'm just going to add Prestige Television. That's really good and really tightly written. Precisely. You understand what I'm talking about. Is that what that's called? Prestige Television? That's cool. That's like a worryingly cool name for that. Guy who's only vaguely familiar with Breaking Bad, getting a lot of Breaking Bad vibes from this. I feel like the first 4 episodes of Breaking Bad set the tone for the show pretty well, though. I feel like though they at least front load a lot of the experience. From what I can't be speaking so definitively about this because I haven't seen the actual TV show. I should not be talking with so much authority on my voice. Okay. I'm trying to ensure that it's not a term on par with quality slop. Quality slop is criminal. You only like it because it's quality slop. You only like it because it's good. It's well made. The thing is, I can kind of relate with the term quality slop. Is that as deranged as that sounds, I can kind of understand the term quality slop on perhaps a worrying level because sometimes, I think it's like in those cases, where everybody's talking about how good a television show is, or like, oh yeah, this changed the game for me. Oh, this was fantastic. This blew my socks off when I watched it. And it's like then you have this expectation that it's going to be so much more than like what it possibly could be, and like you're kind of worried that it's not going to live up to the hype. It usually does. Like this is how it happened with me and watching the first Spider-Verse movie. Is that Spider-Verse came out in what, 2018, 2018ish, and I watched it in 2021, and it was like I was doing like the whole Danny DeVito, like, I get it now kind of thing after I finished watching it. But for a long time, I was like, I'm going to put off watching it because it's probably not as good as everybody says it is. I have a hard time trusting what others believe to be quality, not because I don't trust their sense of quality necessarily. It's that I'm worried that I'm not going to get it and enjoy it. Like if somebody's like, "Oh yeah, you need to hop on this, you need to hop on that," I'm usually very resistant to that because I'm usually very resistant to that because I feel like I need to seek it out on my own before I'm comfortable. Um, Before I'm comfortable exploring it. And I feel like that's the approach I take to my recommendations as well. Even if I think that somebody's going to enjoy something that I recommend to them, I very seldom provide that recommendation. Not because I'm trying to gatekeep or anything, but just because it's like, you know what? If it's meant to be, they'll find it. Sometimes I think people feel that way about a piece of media, and I think it's valid because you shouldn't be pushed into something until it's time for you to fully appreciate it. That's become like my philosophy towards recommendations is just that unless I'm like specifically doing research for a genre or for like a specific thing, and this thing just so happens to be like the perfect fit for what I'm looking for, I usually just kind of wander around, and if I remember, oh yeah, wasn't there this show that I heard about like ages and ages ago? I should check that out. That's usually how it goes for me. Okay. Lower this and Rotate that. This is all to say that if you recommend me something and I don't go immediately hop to it, or if I take my sweet ass time finding it, it's not because you failed. It's because I have a lot of, I guess inertia is the correct term for it. Like it takes a lot to move me, but once I move like crazy. There was that one time that Raph recommended me a comic called Lavender Jack. I'm like, all right, you know what? Maybe I'll check it out. And then 2 days later, I had read through the entire thing. Raph does have really good comic recommendations, so I'll say this much for her: she has some incredibly good comic recommendations. I think that's also the other component of it is that I feel like recommendations from somebody who is super into whatever you're looking into hit different as well. Okay, here's what I need to do. I'm going to grab this rifle, which is on this layer, and I'm going to flip it around like so, just so I have an easier time visualizing what it's like upside down. Okay. Okay, and then the rifling for the rifling for the pipe, the piping for the rifle, or the barrel for the rifle. You know what? Why don't we call it the pipe of the rifle? Because I feel like barrel. Where did the term barrel in ballistics come from? Because I feel like pipe is much more accurate to describe what this kind of structure is compared to barrel. Which, valid, but at the same time, like I feel like there's got to be something to that. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I need to refine that into a proper drawing in just a second, but I kind of want to revisit V real quick, just because it's bothering me that she doesn't have legs. I thought I could overcome the fact that it bothered me, but I don't think I could. I think the key for this part is just adding a little bit of a circle there. We'll deal with this whole mess when we deal with it. Okay. I feel like V doesn't look enough like V, though, is the thing. I feel like she looks like some other person. I don't know. How could I make this look more like V? I think maybe manipulating the hair a little bit is one place to start. And maybe changing the kind of arrangement of the jaw. Hmm. Something like that? That could work. I think also her I think also the hair the way she wears it is a little bit higher up and neater than I made it in my way. Made it originally. Sort of like this. Like you can definitely see at least past her forehead. I also need to simplify a lot of her lines. Okay. Very good. Yeah, I think just making these more like these lines chunkier because I think I've simplified the forms involved as much as I could. Like I feel like this is the simplest I can get the gun. I just need to make the forms. Yeah, V is very colors is the thing. So you know what? I'm just that's gonna be Jay's. That's you know what? I'm making an executive decision. That's gonna be Jay's problem. Okay. That being said, maybe just shrinking her down a little bit, and also like this. Does he have? No. Okay. So legs would go like here. The thing about okay, so the thing I think is also making me struggle with the legs somewhat. Heavy has very short legs. He has a very long torso and very long arms, but very short legs, comparatively speaking. So I think because I want to hike up the belt to like maybe around waist height for her, that's also fucking with my perception of like where the legs should go and what the correct length should be. I do think like maybe a wide stance is good though. You know what? Looking at it this way. Okay, so shrink that down and then a little bit higher and yes. Okay. What do the boots actually look like? I think it's just literally X's, right? Yeah, it is. I also need to. Is she crouching? She's almost certainly adopting a big stance for a big gun that might also be messing with height and legs and such. Yeah. Also, I think I need to maybe. Okay, I need to lower this a little bit. And I need to lower the pant legs just a little bit more so it is kind of just above, barely above ankle height. The crouching idea is kind of good though, but I don't think I'm going to use it this time around. Okay. Very good. Okay. These guys have patches somewhere on their shirts, I think, for what their team class is. But honestly, I'm not gonna bother with that. Definitely a bit late in the process to be suggesting something like that. Nah. You can still. I mean, I think you can honestly. There's never such a thing as like too late in the process because, especially because this is still we're still technically doing the sketch here. But I don't think that's where the window is going to blow this time. So yeah, thanks for voicing your idea. Well, I appreciate it. You know what? I think maybe one thing I can do is just add a heart on here. Because I feel like V's logo is part of the ensemble, but I do feel like a heart is a symbol that she and Jay both share. So I think that one's going to be the move. I made for Jay instead of why is she all the way out there? Oh yeah, I should probably make Jay full body as well, huh? I love I do really like the sniper's fuck ass bell bottom jeans and cowboy boot combo that he's got going. Okay, and then over here. Oops. Okay. I think what I need to do as well is maybe shrink Jay's head just a little bit. Because I don't know how to... I'm gonna need to ask Jay and V this separately because I want to figure out if one of them is taller than the other canonically. Because I was thinking about like the canon heights for, you know, V, because obviously Titania is short, but I've always pictured Jay and V being like basically the same height. He's styling for a sniper, which I suppose is a location where it matters a little less what you're wearing. That is true. You know what? There's a reason that Golgo 13 had that shit on. It's because he didn't have to worry about like getting into scuffles on the street level. I think maybe if I shrink V's boots a little bit, it's going to look a little better. Oh, yeah. I think V specifically said that she has no cannon height. That sounds like something she would say, yeah. That's true. I do really like V's approach, which to like details of her design, which is basically that aside from a few core things, you can do whatever you want, more or less. I I don't think that policy works for everyone necessarily, but I do think it works for her very well because I feel like her design is very adaptable into a few different body types. Oh, I like them. I like how it looks when the mouth is bigger. I also forgot to add Jay's the other side of Jay's killing tusks. There we go. Okay, so here's what I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring this whole party over to a new document. So maybe like width, let's go 4,500 and height 6,000. Yeah, no, we cannot forget her deadly tusks. Okay, so this is going to be thumbnail. Also, I should probably flip this back to the direction it's supposed to be in. There we go. Okay, so we're going to grab these. We're going to put them both here. And now comes the actual part that we needed to worry about this whole time, which is actually making the line art. Put in my Yoshi in the .text file. This low-key happened to my buddy Kim Dukja. Actually, that's the thing, Bunny. Bunny, if you're still here, thank you for encouraging to read. This is after me saying this whole thing about like the recommendations, but I think I finally took the plunge to start reading Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. So thank you for for giving me the last little push that I needed to start reading that, because I have had a blast with it. I've gotten to the part into the part with the different disasters where they have to hunt down the crystals, and it's been a wild ride. But I do think I like the. I do feel like maybe reading the the webtoon was maybe like a slightly different experience. Like I'm having more fun because I feel like the descriptions that they're allowed to give in the text version, or at least in the translated text, are much more goofy. Like I think because like the webtoon style needs like has specific limitations to itself. I feel like when I read the novel version of it, I can still kind of picture what everybody looks like, but I also have like a slightly different idea of like what they look like. It's fun. I don't really get to experience that very often. Okay. So we're gonna set this to maybe 30 point for the maybe 25. Yeah, that seems like a good balance. Okay, so here's where I'm at. I'm going to maybe streamline a lot of the muscle here. Or at least a lot of the lines, because I want to make this look cartoony. I love making like super sharp elbows. Something about it is very satisfying to me. There we go. Okay, so maybe more like this. I feel like the vector layers really shine at times like this, where you just have to draw a bunch of very simple looking lines. There we go. And maybe I should actually move this down just a little bit. And then over here. And then over here. Fabulous. That being said, the other side to you know how earlier I said that like once I am moved to actually read or play something or do something, and there's nothing that can stop me. That's like the flip side of it is that sometimes I'll be in situations where I'm like, okay, I'm having a lot of fun with this, but I absolutely cannot afford to let it consume my life right now. Like this happened earlier this year actually with that game Fields of Mystria because I had a blast playing it, but I very quickly realized that like okay, so one in-game day takes about like approximately 12 to depending on how much you manage to get done and whatnot, 12 to 18 real world minutes. And that's fine, but like you end up playing like a week before you know it, and that is almost 2 hours gone, like right there. And I was like doing the math crunching for this in my head. I'm like, okay, I cannot be playing this for too long. Extremely risky pastime. The two modes don't make me go to it, and I can't stop thinking about it. Pretty much. For enrichment in my enclosure, it's either it's feast or famine. No in between. And I think that's kind of sad, actually. I feel like that's something that I would like to improve on myself, is just having better moderation for the things that I enjoy. Because I feel like if I act like this too much, I feel like my brain's just going to turn to mush one day. Like, I'm just completely going to fry my dopamine receptors, and there will be no recovery. Okay, that's a bit dramatic. There probably is some recovery. And the rare, don't make me go to it because I know I won't be able to stop thinking about it. That's the worst one because you want to go think about it so bad, but at the same time, it's like, but I got these obligations. Yeah, no, I think I've just kind of accepted the fact that I will be either completely attacking whatever new thing I find for a period of like 2 to 3 weeks, or I will just be going over things that I'm already familiar with, but in bite-sized pieces. I think that's why I've gotten hooked on, because like now I'm following like some web serials, for example. Like I'm following a couple of web novels that I've found to be really entertaining, and I've just been reading those from time to time, and I've just been checking for updates whenever they're available. I think that's literally the only way that I can stop myself from binge reading, is to finish the binge read and then just be forced to moderate by the fact that there's literally nothing new available. It's kind of a drastic option now that I phrase it this way, but I mean, it's worked. One time I binge read Hajime no Ippo up until the fight between Sendo and Mexican Yujiro Hanma. I forget his name right now, but you know the guy. God, it is really funny that like that the biggest hurdle in Hajime no Ippo is just some Mexican guy. I don't know why that's so entertaining to me. I feel like in so many cases you see like the ultimate hurdle being like, maybe because it is just like patriotism that this happens. It's just some random old master living in Japan, right? But it's really refreshing that in Hajime no Ippo, the guy that nobody wants to fuck with, but everybody's gunning for, is just this very low-key random Mexican dude who becomes Jason Voorhees when he's in the ring. Episodic media that's not finishing and going for a very long time perhaps is the middle ground. I think it is, just kind of by default. Like, you know what? This is how I can still win. I need to just take a month off, binge read One Piece, and then just come back a completely changed person, and just keep up with new chapters as they come out. That's technically what I did for Chainsaw Man. Come to think of it, Chainsaw Man's like one of the only ones where I've been able to like catch it as, I don't know, should I do it like this or like this for the hair thingies? I think like this, it reads more as a V, so I'm gonna go with this one. Chainsaw Man is one of the few stories where I've been able to follow it from like very fairly close to the beginning. Like, I read the first couple of chapters of Chainsaw Man as they were coming out, dropped off for a while, caught back up with the I think by the time that the International Assassins arc was over, that's when I hopped back on. And then I've just been reading Chainsaw Man week to week since then. And Jesus Christ. Listen. You shouldn't regret the things that you read or the things that have enriched your life in some way. But I do somewhat regret keeping up to date with Chainsaw Man episodically, because I feel like Fujimoto is trying to kill us with how he handles his episodic storytelling. I feel like Chainsaw Man is gonna be like... I feel like Chainsaw Man, if you binge read it, is gonna be like a fulfilling meal with like some odd quirks here and there. But reading Chainsaw Man as it came out feels like I am in the fucking SpongeBob Silent Hill 2 corridor. Alright? Tatsuchi Fujimoto has us all in a fucking saw trap every single week. It doesn't get better. It just slows down. We will be restricting you to upcoming manga only. You will have to catch lightning in a bottle with brand new shonen battle manga? No! Sometimes the artist wants you dead. It's up to you whether you accept it. That is very true. The thing about Chainsaw Man is that no matter what they did to my friend reading Jujutsu Kaisen as it came out, oh, your poor friend. Oh my god. I cannot imagine that shit. I do actually want to read a Jujutsu Kaisen, but now I can't because it's been finished. And I think Modulo, the sequel manga, is also wrapping up soon. So I kind of missed the bus. I'm too late to the party, and now I'm not going to be able to consume it responsibly. Okay, here's going to be the strat for this. Just very carefully aligning this. Grabbing this. Okay, and then it's gonna go like this. It is also really funny because I remember actually being fairly up to date with My Hero Academia as it came out back in the day, like back in 2018, I remember I was actually pretty on top of things with My Hero Academia, and then one day I was like, you know what, I've had enough. And then I stopped reading My Hero Academia, and then it's really funny because like almost like 6 months later, it's all anybody's fucking talking about is My Hero Academia. I'm like, man, my guy Deku really's come a long way. I'm sure this will have no impact on the larger on the larger timeline. Oh, how little I knew. Because I feel like that's gonna like permanently paint whatever, if I ever try to read My Hero Academia properly, is just the fact that I can't see Deku as anything other than the guy that I briefly briefly met while I was finishing up high school and going to university, and being like, huh, well, that guy he seemed like a decent kid. I'm sure nothing weird's gonna happen to him. Oh man, life can be such a funny thing. Okay. Honestly, I do feel like maybe we do need. I remember there was a podcast that I used to listen to where they would actually cover chapters of like Weekly Shonen Jump in a summary and review format. And I remember thinking that was pretty great, but I forgot. I completely forgot the name of the podcast, and I wasn't able to listen to it because it was literally just a summary of the chapters that week. And because I was like, okay, I need like a visual component for this, I wasn't actually able to like hang on to the discussion of it very much. I think like it very much did assume that you also read the chapters. So I think that's why it's a complete. I think I just miscalculated deeply trying to limit my understanding of a chiefly visual medium to something that is like purely auditory. Like that's my bad, OG. My apologies, original gangster. That feels so granular in the scope of such long-running media like manga, right? I kind of respect it though, because I feel like these are the kinds of people who will like put you onto a series that's like, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like that or not, and they're like, I enjoyed it a lot. I like that first chapter a lot, and you're like, oh, maybe I should pick it up. I don't know. It's kind of tough because I feel like as Westerners, we have very limited input into what gets axed and what doesn't. Because I don't know if they count reads on like, even the app or the official Viz translation website. I don't know if those are counted towards like the manga's popularity. I should hope they are, but maybe at a more discreet pace? Question mark. I don't know. Bakuman. I read Bakuman like 12 years ago by this point, and no, that's not okay. I'm 26 now. 12 years ago, I would have been. No, I read Bakuman like 12 years ago by this point, and that's pretty much given me my entire understanding of the way that Shonen Jump rankings and serialization discussions go. And the picture it painted was exceptionally cutthroat. So I'm not sure how much of it has changed, but if it hasn't changed very much, then that means that the majority of what decides whether a manga lives or dies is going to be just like reader submitted polls to Shonen Jump. And like I said, we have very limited reach in that regard as Westerners. First of all, because they don't sell fucking Shonen Jump in the West. So we can't really send them our thoughts with a magazine. I think they probably did publish Shonen Jump at some point in the West, though. I feel like I've heard of that story before. Not through Tokyo Pop or any of that shit. I mean, like the actual magazine. man, fuck Tokyo Pop. Is it Scorp still around? Like, is Tokyo Pop's decaying body still active to some degree in the wider environment? They did, then discontinued? Yeah, that sounds about right. That's more or less what I figured happened. It used to get Shoujo Beat magazines. Ah. That's not fun. On the one hand, it's a very conflicting emotion. On the one hand, I want to return to more physical magazine-based subscriptions and such because I feel like it's just nice to hold something in your hand and be able to enjoy it that way. But at the same time, I recognize that one, that's going to be super expensive to arrange just from the postage alone. And two, that's going to take up so much space eventually. And, once you finish reading your issue of Shoujo Beat, that's like, or, your freshly mail ordered copy of Shonen Jump for the week of February 2nd, 2026, you need to get rid of it at some point. And that's going to create a lot of paper waste. So that I feel conflicted. Nick and Teen magazines? That's fun. Okay. Like this. Very nice. I remember I have like a core memory of elementary school where they actually had a couple of like those children's TV show magazines, and there was one where they had Luffy in it. Like they were just talking about Luffy for a little bit. And I was like, oh my god, it's my guy Luffy. And then the magazine used the word badass, and I got really scared because I was like 10 at the time, or like 9 at the time. And I was like, oh my god, they said ass. Like I was so scandalized. Oh man, 10-year-old Paps would be proud of how far he's come with like his capacity and willingness to listen to cuss words. And to speak them. I said a bunch of bad words this stream already, probably not even consciously for the most part. I don't know. I feel like my approach to cussing is very much the same as my approach to reading that I've outlined, where I think like at some point I indulge too much, and then I feel like, okay, we gotta slow down a little bit. We've been saying the fuck word too frequently. we gotta relax. I'm at like an 8, and I need myself to be at like a 9. Or wait, no, other way around. I'm at like an 11, and I need to be at like an 8. God, I remember I used to get really excited about checking out back copies of Wired magazine. Back in like, I think it would have been middle school. The two magazines that I remember enjoying the most in my life were like Wired when I was like 14 or 15, or no, more like 12, 13 or so. Wired when I was like 13, and the Sky Mall catalog when I was a child. Like I remember I remember finding the Sky Mall catalog on an air flight one time as like a 9-year-old and being like absolutely bewitched by the decadence and opulence and random crap that was in it. I think that's the same reason I like the I don't know if it's still around. Is it hang on, I gotta check something real quick. If I go to my local browser and go thinkgeek.com, is that still a thing that's around? It redirected me to GameStop. Are you sick in the fucking head? Hang on. There's gotta be a Wikipedia page for this. And there simply has to be. There's no way there isn't. Here we fucking go. This is the old bread and butter. I used to spend so much time on this website because I was just so enamored by the random crap in it. Okay, so ThinkGeek, American retailer that catered to computer enthusiasts and geek culture. Their merchandise has been likened to toys for adults, novelties designed to appeal to both your inner child and your inner grad student, including clothing, electronic and scientific gadgets, unusual computer peripherals, office toys, pet toys, child toys, and caffeinated drinks and candy. I remember that these guys used to sell those like energy drink potions. Y'all remember that? Okay. Here we go. In June 2019, ThinkGeek announced that it would be discontinuing its online store and integrating its e-commerce operation into a curated selection of GameStop's online operations. You rotten sons of bitches. New product details from after the standalone site closed were made public in January 2020, including Jigglypuff and Get Shrifty from Rick and Morty themed Bluetooth speakers. You are killing me. You want me to die. You are trying to fuck with me big time. I can feel it. Christ. You know what? I do feel... You know, upon reflection, upon like consideration of just what the website was and its semiotics and customer base, maybe it's a good thing that it got discontinued before like the Rick and Morty fucking supernova happened. I feel like there's like some kind of before and after for Rick and Morty. I don't know if it was like season 2 or season 3 where it just like got too up its own ass. Not only the show itself, but also like the fans got way too up its own ass about it. Like that was like the point when I think like the whole copy pasta of like you have to be fairly intellectual to enjoy Rick and Morty. I think when that dropped, that was like the death knell. Like it went from being a show that a lot of annoying people watched to like something that you would not associate yourself with in polite company. There's a phrase that's been knocking around my head that somebody used a while back that was like I miss the show but not the audience. And I think that's like much more applicable, like almost universally so these days than whenever it might have been coined. It's a shame too because I remember I had like a good friend in high school who really liked the show, and she was a really nice person, and I'm so sad that she that she had to like watch it fall from grace like that. Well, that's life. Nothing you can really do about it. Okay, very good. And then okay, I think what I need to do is I may need to shrink this down a little bit, just so it fits in with the thumb a little better. It got cold in my apartment all of a sudden. It's kind of weird. I was back in the trenches defending female characters back in the day. I am saluting. I do salute. Female characters need all the shooters they can get. Just broadly speaking, there's never been a point where this hasn't been true. Listen, I it's it can be a lot because like sometimes I think like it's very difficult to, how do I put this? A certain contingent of people are like huge jerks and also way more sensitive than they think they are. And I think because of that, it leads to this very precarious balancing act where you want to push the envelope with female characters, but at the same time, they're like you also live under the threat of people being fucking weird about them. And it's a really sad state of affairs. Thankfully, that doesn't stop a lot of people, which is, thank goodness. I'm glad people still make bizarre and strange and, complex and morally gray female characters. I think that's a beautiful thing. I just wish I heard more people like discussing the. I just wish that I was more exposed to people discussing those complexities compared to the people whining about the complexities. I think a lot of it does more broadly have to do with like a decline in literacy, for lack of a better word. Like, it's not that people aren't learning how to read, it's that they're not learning how to read, if that makes sense. And I think because people get frustrated with this inability to engage with text, they take it out on the female characters that they don't understand, because I feel like they feel more comfortable punching down on female characters, compared to like, oh, this male character who I think is just awesome and is the only one I understand and relate to out of this whole story. That's not, and it's like you hear them talk about it this way, and you kind of have to stop yourself from like looking up their IP address to command an army of fire ants to invade their house. I think that's pretty much all I have to say on the matter. I try to not make it a habit to like they don't know how to engage critically or with nuance, but also social media and the set number of characters available to have a combo. Yeah, that's a thing as well. I think like I really liked them back in the day, but I think like those incorrect character quote blogs and everything had like a hugely detrimental effect to being able to engage with new things. Because I feel like, or like, like when you have like certain series as vines or whatever, like those are fun, but also I feel like it forces people to frame certain things. Like it kind of like encourages this method of categorizing characters, which is really unhelpful that towards like understanding what the author wants to convey. Or not even what the author wants to convey, like what they themselves could gain from the text. It's just a difficult situation. Difficult and somewhat frustrating. It's also frustrating not just because of obviously the ignoramuses who want to speak over literally everybody else who is in the space, but I think it's also frustrating because on the, you could just say, okay, well, since everybody who is kind of talking about this online is being such a weirdo about everything, I'm just gonna engage with the text on my own terms and just really not like look up anything online about it. And that can also be frustrating because I feel like you want to be able to relate to somebody else about it. That's why people are able to forge such strong bonds over a story they've both read, I think. Is because I think there's like this understanding that there's a very limited number of people who understand it in the same way that you understand the story. So it makes those relationships much more precious in some regards. I think the thing as well is also that I feel like, and this is more of a general gripe, and I do apologize if this is turning me into me just ranting about a bunch of random things. I do feel like I have wanted to think about and voice my thoughts on this for a while though. There's this tendency now to kind of prioritize memes of the text over the actual text. Like, if something gets popular, right? Or like if a character becomes known for one thing, then you will have to endure that character's discussion being dominated by that one thing. Yeah, being on the same wavelength, precisely. That's really the best way to put it, is being on the same wavelength. Like, for example, okay, so using Uma Musume as an example, because this is the best part, this is the best one that I can think of, because I still see it a lot, very frequently, actually, is that, like, okay, Uma Musume Global comes out, right? You have Goldship, a character who's known for being goofy and a little bit violent, sure. You have somebody who makes a really funny joke about Goldship, you know, being like the Uma Bomber, which is a really funny joke. But all of a sudden, then, like, every other fucker on wherever you go, it doesn't matter if it's social media or even like with your own friend group sometimes, right? It's inescapable that somebody's just gonna be like, oh, Goldship, right? Yeah, awesome how she makes pipe bombs. And I'm not unguilty of this. Like, I've also made Goldship pipe bomb jokes. That's very much a thing I've done. But at the same time, it becomes frustrating that whenever like the character comes up, or like whenever like you want to have a discussion about them, like it inevitably circles back around to like those jokes that kind of reduce their personality and their depth to like one thing. And it's very frustrating to deal with. And the problem is that it's very much inescapable, because if somebody creates a snappy catchphrase, that's just going to proliferate. That's not something you are in control of. That's just something that's going to happen, right? Like, if somebody makes a funny meme and it catches on, that is out of anybody's hands, and it can be beneficial, but it can also be stifling. And I found that this is a problem for VTubers a lot as well, is that they will, especially for like Hololive and such, there will be like a iconic bit or joke that one of the people make in their streams, and then for the rest of their fucking life, they will have to deal with that. And it's very frustrating and exhausting. It's more so than ever, because like they are actual human beings. Like, that's a fully realized person. And I feel like it's especially cruel to reduce that, or to kind of clog their existence with that one off thing that they mentioned that they probably didn't even put that much consideration to. Like, I remember when Raura, the pink Italian panther lady, did the doom spell on like one of those video games that they played, and that became like her whole thing for like a month. And it was, a lot of it was entertaining and funny, but a lot of it really wasn't. And the thing is that the more this happens, the more you see it happen, the more it becomes like an established pattern, and the more frustrating it is when that pattern kind of completes itself. There's no satisfaction to the pattern being realized. It just happens, and you're like, oh god, not this shit again. Or not even not this shit again. It's like, here we go again. But at the same time, it's very difficult to avoid those situations. Not only because you're essentially the only way to avoid that situation is by just never going viral, which is incredibly difficult if your whole job is to go viral or to reach a wider audience, as it is for streamers. That, or you just need to be so on the ball getting new bits on the regular that everybody forgets your old bit. That, or you have to like make a whole fucking federal issue about it and like issue a press statement like, please stop associating me with this bit. Like I remember that crony, I think, the blue clock woman. She she used to, there was like this joke that she used to get a lot where it was like, oh yeah, she used to leave these Subway sandwiches out for a couple of days and then eat them. And, you know, that was fun for a little bit, but eventually she had to like put her foot down and be like, okay, I don't find these jokes funny anymore. Please stop. And I respect the hell out of her for saying that, because I feel like, and they did stop. That was the most impressive thing, is that they did stop after. I've seen like maybe one joke in that of that ilk since that announcement, and it kind of opened my eyes a lot to like how refreshing it is when when it's like when nobody is making just the same joke over and over again. Comment, I'm gonna be so real. I read that as you gotta be biting 24/7, and I was about to say so true. Yeah, I think that's the main thing, is that people, again, I am guilty of this as well, because like Lord knows I kept using "my ass better stay in this office" far past the expiration date for that joke. Now granted, it's just because I absolutely adored the phrase. Biting does also help as a thing. Listen, if you need to reinvent yourself in an urgent manner, bite someone. Bite the nearest person you can find. It can be your boss, it can be your coworker, it could be some random fucker in the bus station where you're currently at right now. Bite someone. It's going to change the trajectory of your life. Not necessarily for good. Or actually, no, it'll change the trajectory of your life for good, but I'm not saying it'll make it better, if you get what if you understand what I mean. Okay, let's take another look at... Okay, so we can probably add a little thing here for the flak jacket, or flak vest, whatever. There we go. But yeah, the semiotics... I think I also mentioned this earlier, but I feel like it bears repeating. I don't necessarily blame the people who can't let the joke go, because I feel like they're also just struggling to communicate. I feel like they've like learned this one specific phrase that identifies them as part of the group, and they cling on to it because I feel like it's much more difficult to say and to like eloquently phrase your desire to interact or relate your interest to a different topic than it is to just like whip out that horse ass joke. And I can sympathize with that. Like, you know, people live complicated lives. They don't have necessarily always like the bandwidth to try to engage with things beyond like that very surface level. But at the same time, I do think we should encourage it. We should try to encourage that higher level. I was about to say cognitive function. I'm not entirely sure that's the correct phrase, but we can go with that. It's crazy how much easy... Ooh, this arm needs some rework. Okay, Okay, interesting. This is the I thought this looked fine while the sketch was still up, but looking at it now, I think I might need to I'm gonna need to rework the arms a little bit. But that's fine. I am happy to do that. I think it's mainly gonna be the right arm this time that I need to rework. Just a tiny bit smaller, just overall. I think it's good on length. It just needs to be like slightly. It just needs to match the left arm a little better. Okay, and then just like this. That shoulder doesn't make any sense. Perfect. Okay, so that's gonna go like this. That's gonna. We gotta seal up a couple of the cracks here. And I think the move would be to just like make a little divot here, just so it's clear that her shoulder ends here and doesn't go under. Actually, could I get away with just making the t-shirt up to here? I think I could. Also, maybe I need to make the neck a little bit thinner. Yeah, that's definitely helping. Oh yeah, that's looking a lot better already. Let's just bring this down a little bit and then also tilt this a little bit further up. I think that's gonna be like the perfect sweet spot. Yeah, okay, yeah. But yeah, I feel like those experiences have really helped me to try and realize when I'm just using a bit that I've heard somebody else do versus trying to make do my own bit. It's good to have those experiences where you kind of like have to self-actualize on the fly. Okay. Okay. And then get this part out. Perfect. Also, I'm going to change the placement of the boot here so that it's a little bit more profile facing. I feel like that's just going to help to define the shoe a little bit better than having it be front facing. It really must be said, boots look so stupid from the front. And that's not their fault. It's just kind of how they have to be, just, you know, topology. But it does kind of like take the wind out of your sails a little bit. Shoes just look kind of goofy from the front. At least in my experience. I don't know, maybe it's been a while since I've studied the topic of shoes. I remember God. It's the innocence of that period really does tickle me to think about. Remember back in the day I used to do those streams where I was like, "Oh hey guys, check out this website I found. It's called This Shoe Doesn't Exist." Remember look, isn't it cool? It like it uses like it generates a random shoe from that's not actually like a real existent shoe from like a huge database of shoes. Isn't that so cool and awesome? And then like 2021 happened, and like we started hearing about Gen AI shit, and it's like, and after that, I was like, oh, I should not be using this. Like I think that was like that like literally that a couple of months after I did the last stream where I was like, this shoe does not exist is an interesting site. I like started like becoming more conscious of like AI and how generative AI is impacting the art industry. And it's like, oh, I should not be using this. This is, as the French say, c'est problématique. Okay. Oh wait, no, it's not say problematique. It'd be très problématique. I think that'd be that seems like it makes more sense. I bet I can just copy and paste this shoe. Okay, I was half right. I need to do some bullshit to it. I will say that at least those streams where I like where I try to design characters based off of those shoes, I think it did give me a better idea of like how shoes are supposed to work more broadly speaking, because I think that was kind of when I was like, okay, shoes are made up of like these different parts, and that's kind of like when I started comprehending shoes. And you know, I was able to like start drawing boots freehand, for example, because now I know it's like, okay, there's like the kind of like sock part of it. There is, and that kind of goes down here until like there's this part here where the knots begin, and then there's usually something back here. There might be a toe over the whole thing. I just kind of became acquainted with those components at that point, and I think that helped a lot. Just a little bit more of an angle. I think that would be good. Okay. And now the most challenging part of this, which is going to be adding the circles. Speaking of which, I talked earlier about how I visited a Wikipedia page on different Latin phrases, and one of the ones that came up was the last words of, I believe it was Archimedes, who the last thing he said was, "Don't disturb my circles," to a Roman soldier, I believe, who was invading his home, and who had strict orders not to kill Archimedes, and then killed him regardless. Which I think is really funny. Bro was like, "Do not touch my calculator," and the soldier was like, "Well, I guess he's gotta go." Like, what the fuck, man? He's like, yeah, don't disturb my circles. I got some circles right here for you, pal. And then, you know, he stabbed him and then he died. And thus one of the greatest minds of the generation was lost. It does bug me that most of the people who, like back in the day, you used to have a guy who like would invent weapons for you and was like a brain genius at doing that, and like you would protect that guy with your life because he was the one who built like a bunch of mirrors that, when put together, could like incinerate an entire enemy fleet. Nowadays, like I feel like it's much rarer for people who make weapons to be killed, which is an interesting development. Not one that I thought I would see within my lifetime. Like, I feel like 90% of gunsmiths die of natural causes, which is wild. Okay, here's what let's do. Gonna duplicate this circle, move it a little bit to the right. Yeah, put it down a little bit. And make sure that it aligns also with the... Actually, could I just, like, slide these back? Yeah, I could, couldn't I? I was gonna say, couldn't I just slide these back a little bit? Yeah, a little bit more like this. It feels... Today does not feel like a Thursday. Today feels like like it's Friday, and tomorrow's just gonna be Friday too. It's a very strange feeling. Tomorrow's just gonna be Friday the sequel. On God, I thought... Okay, I shouldn't say on God because I don't actually mean that one. But I felt like when I woke up on February 1st, I was gonna look at the calendar and was gonna say January 32nd. January lasted for fucking ever, and I feel like I'm already halfway through February. Like, maybe it's just because I'm more cognizant of what I have to get done this month that I feel like I am on a much more rushed schedule, but I feel like a February is already over for me. Like, I feel like February has already come and gone, and I just need to, like, catch up. Like, I feel like I'm going to blink and tomorrow's going to be the 18th. Okay. Okay, slide this back a little bit and then rotate it like this. Same thing for this one. Maybe we can shrink this one down a little bit. Actually, I bet we can probably... Hang on. I've got an idea. I've got a fabulous idea. I've conceived of a most ingenious plan. Okay. Gonna shrink this one down just a tiny bit, then shrink it down again so we can make the inside of the barrel. Yes. Come on. Draw a straight line. I know you can do it. I've seen you do it. There. Thank you. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this isn't working. Or maybe? No, but... Okay, up till around here, I felt like I had it. So what changed? I think I need to be just more cautious. I'm gonna keep one of these circles out here. Maybe widening it a little bit might be the ticket. Okay. Maybe my issue is that I'm not making the second half of it far back enough. I don't know why it's always cylinders. I feel like cylinders have always been the one that I'm most the shape that has like most consistently whooped my ass. These tubes are kind of got hands. Okay. Okay, then that's gonna shrink down like this, and maybe a little bit lower than that. Yeah, that's good. Okay, this part can just go like that. Maybe just shrinking this part down. I think I finally got it. I do think I'm gonna get rid of the inside circle though. I feel like that one kills the vibe a little bit. Hmm. Ooh, wait, and then maybe I can put this one out here. Then shrink this, tilt it, shrink it again. Expand this, put it over here. I feel like I feel like when I was working earlier, I entered like a nice flow state where there's like two types of flow state. There's like the flow state where everything's been like where everything is going smoothly and you don't need to think much, so you just kind of like move your hand and keep talking at the same time. And the other one where like you are so focused that you forget to actually talk. So I just kind of keep narrating what I'm doing in my head. I don't know, is that soothing for anyone? I don't really. I'm not planning on stopping doing it, whatever the answer is, because it's just kind of how I fill dead air at this point. But you know, if anybody has thoughts on that procedure, let me know on this method of doing things. Okay. This seems fine. I say cautiously. I need to hang on. Maybe it's a matter of scale. So maybe I need to move these two down a little bit. And then I need to maybe expand these two. I feel like that feels like the correct answer. When was the last time you saved, by the way? Probably like 2 hours ago. Hang on. Thank you, Ryan. You absolutely saved my bacon with that one. I don't know. My computer isn't very my computer and CSP aren't very prone to crashing because like my computer is like fairly beefy and it can handle Clip Studio Paint at its worst. But at the same time, whenever I realize that it's been like 2 hours since I saved my work, I do feel like a ghost, like somebody just walked over my grave. Searching and drinking a fluid might be worth doing too. You know what? You're right. Let me let me open up my hips a little bit. Maybe take a sip of water. Whew. Recently, I've discovered this stretch that I've been trying to use because I still occasionally feel a little bit of soreness from the foot where I had like that plantar fasciitis thing. Like it is occasionally still sore, and it's an unpleasant sensation. It usually happens in the morning, or if I haven't moved my foot in a long time. You know, if it's like stiff, it's usually when it happens. But I'll still feel like an ache there sometimes. And I'm pretty sure that's normal. I wouldn't be surprised if that's just like a normal part of the recovery process, and that's just something I'm gonna have to deal with forever. People have to deal with much worse things forever, so I'm fine with that. Oh wait, hang on. Ooh, this could be helpful. Okay. And no, that doesn't exactly work either. Phantom plantar fasciitis is a wild way of describing it, but I think it's quite apt. Okay, we'll put this one around here. And then we'll grab this one and we'll also scale it up. And I think we'll just kind of keep doing that in a clockwise order until we run out of space. Nope, deselect that circle right now. I bet we can just use this one and grab it and toss it down here to... Hang on. To just add this last one. Okay. Perfect. Actually, maybe this barrel could be a little better aligned. Just a smidgen over. And perfect. Okay. And then rotating this. Yes, sir. All right. I think I'm gonna leave that alone for now. Or maybe I'm playing a dangerous game, flipping the picture at this stage of the game. But I think I can kind of feel where what I need to do. Yeah, honestly, that's looking solid. Maybe just slightly more mass on... I guess right now it'd be the right arm. Slightly more mass on this arm. The shoulder could stand to be a little bit less tall on that. And I think that's going to be... Game, set, match. Or actually, maybe this hand could be just a touch bigger. But yeah, anyway, I found this stretch that I've been doing for plantar fasciitis that is basically just like crouching down onto your heels and rocking back and forth. And it kind of makes you look like a gargoyle a little bit. But it's been working quite well. I feel like a great stretch in that area. Okay. Fabulous. Okay, that looks well proportioned and good to go. Okay. We'll leave V alone for now and we'll move on to J. Which I think will be a much smoother experience. On account of the fact that she doesn't have a huge, massive, unconventionally shaped gun on her. Gonna try and maybe I'm not gonna give her her bangs. I think they are pretty short as it is, so I think it might be worth just like eliminating them from the picture. But on the other hand, if I do them like, hang on, I need to double check Jay's rough again. Okay, yeah. Maybe if I just do them like this. I feel like she has more forehead space than that though, so I'm gonna err on the side of bigger forehead. Yeah. I've also been using different shoes since that I ordered online for plantar fasciitis, whatever. That it was difficult getting along with them at first because the shoes have this back part to them, right? So, like near where, okay, so the mouth of the shoe, right? Where your foot goes in. The back part of that, or the part that's in contact with like your Achilles tendon, has like a talon grip. I don't know why it's spelled like this, but it's so aggressively stiff that it feels like somebody's like pinching the back of my foot. And the weirdest thing is it doesn't cause a blister or anything. Like I tried wearing it for like a full day, and you know, it could take longer for a blister to develop, but it was impressive that like nothing happened. Like with the amount of force that it was exerting. Okay. Then slide these backwards. I also, I will say that like alongside the Lunar New Year art, I do also have the idea kicking around in my head for like drawing V in the Travis touchdown fit, which has sunglasses that look shockingly like this. So that's also something that I'm going to try and do at some point. God, it's really funny that during Jay's New Year stream, or her anniversary stream rather, it was really funny because I saw my art got featured a few different times on there, but also V said something to the effect of, "We got to chain Pabs down to his desk this year." And I'm like, I want to be chained down to the desk. I want it so bad, but it's I got so much other shit to do. I felt so conflicted. I want to be chained down to my desk, so I want to keep making art and drawing my friends and making cool things. Okay, chained to my desk in a non-sexual, non-weird way. I was imagining like one of those like heavy ball and chain things that they used to put on prison convicts. There you go. Just for clarification, just like SpongeBob putting out his hands like, wait. What will we do the day where like I say some freaky shit like that and I like fully acknowledge that that's exactly what I meant? That's gonna be a rare day. I don't know. I feel like you should long for the day when you can finally be honest about those kinds of things. So I feel like I do want to be honest, but at the same time, they haven't happened to me in that way. I want to clear up any misunderstandings from my words. It's quite a difficult situation. Okay. This is gonna go like this. An honest expression of non-horniness. Yeah, precisely. Like I want you, like to. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be chained to your desk in a horny way. That's up to you. You are free to do what you want with the kind of will you've been given, the volition you have, your own resources and time. But I want to be clear that that's not what's happening to me. I don't care if the rice bag doth protest too much. This I feel like my desire to be honest and forthright trumps, the desire to make a double entendre of any capacity. Double entendres are so fun and easy, right? I love making dick jokes. It's one of my favorite pastimes. But sometimes I gotta recognize when I'm making a dick joke. Just you gotta. Sometimes you can't just climb a mountain because it's there. Sometimes you gotta really assess yourself. Like, is now the time? Do I want to be the guy that climbs mountains whenever he sees them? Is that the kind of vibe that I want to put forth? The thing is, when you take opportunities to make dick jokes out of different things, right? Or just relate jokes back to anything. This kind of relates back to what we were talking about earlier. You also need to be careful to not just become the person who constantly makes sex jokes or dick jokes or whatever about like whatever topic is at hand, because then it becomes like predictable and kind of annoying. Or at least I feel predictable and annoying when I act like that. To be like, there are people who are very inventive and fun with it, but I do feel like whenever I start to like veer too much into just like constantly like doing like she X on my Y structure type jokes, I feel like I need to take a step back and assess. Okay, how long has it been since I've done a joke like that? Do we need a cooldown? Do we need a grace period? Yeah, you have to make them with care. Yeah. I don't think it's even necessarily a pitiful laugh. I think it's just like once somebody's like, I knew you were going to say something like that, that's when I feel like the joke, like the sport of it has left. Okay. Now, granted, I do enjoy being predictable in some regards. I feel like me being predictable makes me easy to deal with in some aspects. Like if if somebody's like, oh hey, something regarding Chinese martial arts, I bet Paps will like this. I feel like that's one of the cases where it's good to be predictable, because then you've made it easier for somebody to show you something that you would like, and also you make them feel like they understand you because of that brand. That brand is such a filthy word to use in this context, but it is essentially a brand. That brand that you've built for yourself in their mind. The difference between being known and being predictable. I think that's the best way to put it. Yeah, that's a very eloquent way to put it. Is you want to be known, you don't want to be necessarily predictable. Okay. There we go. Okay. I'm kind of hungry, actually. I haven't eaten very well recently. I've mostly been eating takeout and some junk food here and there. So I try to eat a salad for dinner tonight, and it went down well. I feel good. I feel good now that I've eaten a salad. But I also forgot that salads like don't fill me at all. like the thing is that I get like all vegetable salads. Like I don't have any croutons. I don't got any croutons, no sauces, no nothing in there. So once I digest the plant matter, that's it. That's all the calories I'm getting. I'm gonna replace the bullets on this pocket here with a heart. You just ate a bowl of veggies, no dressing, no protein, no nothing. Just listen, it was broccoli, some kind of spring herb mix or whatever. The kind that has like really bitter leafy greens in there. Replacing bullets with love or branding or both. I feel like that's like almost the last line of a slam poetry excerpt from. You know how in some books they'll open the chapter with like an excerpt from an in-universe work of fiction or literature? I feel like replacing bullets with love or branding or both is like the last stanza of a poem that is shared as like part of a cyberpunk novel with that chapter structure. I, I am. Here's the thing. I am an eternal mark for flavor text and just random interesting tidbits that exist within the universe that I'm being invited to witness. Especially those that are written in almost like with almost clinical detachment. Like I don't really care about like a poem that is written in universe, but I am thrilled when somebody has like a technical manual excerpt from that universe that they are sharing with the audience. Like I remember that was one of my favorite parts of reading Kill 6 Billion Demons is that the flavor text and the author notes for a lot of the comics were so rich with random stuff with random world building stuff that just really scratched the itch in my brain really well. Like there's this one series of flavor text that describes this book in universe called the Manual of Hands and Feet, which is basically like a sort of atlas for the different martial arts that exist within the universe. And in each one, the author of the book essentially goes through the basics and the broad understanding of the martial arts style that they're covering in that particular chapter. And then they also talk about their own experiences either trying to learn it or their own perspective in whatchamacallit, How to Kill 6 Billion Demons, Chapter 5, Section 21. Now, like, for example, hang on. Let me find an entry that I really liked from this one. Let's see. Okay, here's a good one. So, flying snow. Regretfully, I know little of this rare internal technique, other than one learns it over many years by listening to certain resonances of the wind. Extended practice is very difficult, but makes the body extremely light, so much that it seems to ignore the common properties of gravity. There are rumors that masters of this technique can balance their whole weight on a single leaf, walk on water, or even fly. I would have inquired more about its properties, but the only master I was able to reliably locate mocked me for my lack of knowledge shortly after I came upon him in a bamboo grove, at which he bounded away, propelling his whole body off the floors with only light touches of his fingertips. Really fun little anecdote. There's also another one. Interacting with the text is more interesting than just an insert from it. When you said that you enjoyed technical text, I was afraid they would be kind of dry. They are a little bit dry. Yeah, or okay, this one's also really good. Head of John, an internal style focused on hardening the self. After many years of preparation and training, practitioners ram 3 metal studs into their skull, piercing the bone and blocking the flow of a tomb at precise meridians. The studs extrude from the skull slightly and are said to be uncomfortable in cold weather. Once this ritual is accomplished, there is a healing, fasting, and meditation period of 3 weeks. After this, the practitioner finds that the skin of their head and neck becomes almost impermeable to harm, and able to exert incredible force. It cannot be cut, severed, or scored by any blade, though I have seen many try. The chief feature of this style is using the head as a blunt weapon. I have seen acolytes shatter bone with their headbutts in practice, and an elder monk break a temple wall with the fierce application of his forehead. By practice of meditation, they are also said to have accomplished unbelievable feats. It is a common story among the monks that their most senior member had his body destroyed and his head severed while defending the temple many years ago. His head survived for 4 weeks without a body and was later sewn back onto the body of a deceased temple guard, which quickly revivified both the body and the head. I could not verify his claims, but his neck did have a most spectacular scar. Fucking awesome. Yeah, I would have learned this technique, but this asshole who totally knows it laughed at me for asking. Literally, I love it. It's so fun. But yeah, read Kill 6 Billion Demons. It's made by the guy who made Lancer, and it's really good. Literally, the entire comic is like this. I know earlier I was hemming and hawing about like, oh, if you find it, it will. If you find it, that's when you should read it or whatever. I'm very hesitant to make recommendations. I am unreserved about my recommendation of Kill 6 Billion Demons. It is one of my favorite comics, and I love it. It's supposed to be wrapping up within the next couple of years as well, but that's, I'm not gonna hold my breath for anything. Okay, this thumb needs to be like way bigger. Well, you see, you found that your text in a personally foundational moment of your life, and as such, you must desperately shell for it so as to provoke even at least one other person to be transformed to it like you were. That's true. I do feel like a lot of like my love of like there's a couple of foundational texts like that for me. I feel like Baki the Grappler, for example, is something that I read in a very specific time in my life where it influenced me in an unspeakably profound way and formed a lot of my attitudes about like martial arts and my love for martial arts. Also, I think the sniper also does have a glove on this hand, so I'm gonna need to add that, which is easily done. Let me double check. Right hand, left hand. Right hand, left hand, yep, and she would need a wristwatch. The status of Kill 6 Billion Demons is actually kind of funny because the thing is, I know so many people who know Lancer and are into Lancer that I feel like most of them are somewhat familiar with the work to some degree. But yeah, I think the better way to phrase it is that Baki established my love of martial arts. I feel like Kill 6 Billion Demons established my approach to world building, which is that the easiest way to enrich your world is to create like a gaggle of assholes who follow a specific doctrine and methodology, and just make 5,000 of those and fill your world with them. And eventually you will have a fully realized society. Okay, then like this. Perfect. Okay, then we're gonna just extend the rifle from here to here. Just need to make a straight line. Easier said than done. But we are almost there. We are almost finished. I think this is going to be like the most complicated part of it, unless I'm forgetting something huge. I am not. It's just a rifle and the shoes, and then we're done for tonight. Hmm. Gonna need to be real careful with the gloves on this finger. Okay, that's good. I feel like I shouldn't make any more generalizations about my approach to recommending things. I think it really is well and truly one of those situations where it just depends on my own particular mercurial moods and my read of the vibe of whoever I'm recommending the things to, which is pretty much how everybody does it. You know, I don't think my method is special or distinct in any meaningful way, and I'm glad it isn't. Speaking of which, where's that gun? I need a couple of details from it that I think I'm currently missing. There it is. Where was I looking when I did this? Hang on. Okay. Okay, then increases the height of that. And over like this. Perfect. Yeah, that's serviceable. Let's see. Okay, I should save my work. Ooh, it's gonna be kind of tough gradient here. Not gradient, tangent here. Maybe not, actually. Hang on, that's fine. I was worried for nothing. But you know what? I think worried for nothing is like gotta be like one of the top 3 ways to be worried. Hmm. Not quite. Let's try that like this. I think we're. Oh, right, the shoes. I was gonna be like, I think we're good. No, the shoes. Okay, that's good. And we can just make a very flat little sole for these. Very nice. Then just like this. Very nice. Are we cool yet? I think we're good. I do want to move the heart up maybe just a little bit, just so that it's maybe intersecting the line rather than being right below it. Hmm. Oh yeah, adding one eye is nice. Okay, and now we can just grab these and go back to the thumbnail. Get rid of all this other random crap. Paste these. Those are humongous. Okay. Nope. Try that again. Try that one more time. All right, and then we're just gonna add a... Hang on. Like a reddish hue for V. And then we're gonna go back for J, and we're gonna add a light bluish hue. Oh, oops. I forgot. Hang on. There's like a bunch of different... There we go. That's better. All right. That's going to do it for tonight. That was good work. I missed another spot here. One more thing. There we go. Okay, that was good work. That being said, it is getting rather late for me, and I slept at 2 a.m. last night. So I'm just going to leave you all here for tonight. Take care. Have a good rest of your evening, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.